Imagine this. It's the dead of winter, a bone-chilling -30 degrees F night with wind howling through the cracks of your cabin. You're shivering, your breath fogging in the air as you fumble with a dozen bulky tools scattered around. Now imagine instead that all you need to survive and thrive is 5 Viking multi-tools that replace your entire garage. Sounds like a myth, right? But Vikings, those legendary Norse warriors, didn't just fight battles. They engineered survival with a cunning so efficient, it would make modern minimalists jealous. Think about it. How did these fearless people live through ice storms that would turn most modern cars into frozen traps, storms so brutal they could shred cannonballs? How did they build their homes, craft their ships, and maintain their weapons without hundreds of specialized gadgets, power tools, or Amazon deliveries? The answer lies in their genius multi-tools, ingenious devices so versatile they condensed an entire workshop into just a handful of objects. This might be the strangest Viking survival trick you've never heard of. Multifunction everything. These weren't your everyday pocket knives or Swiss Army knockoffs. No, these were lifelines that combined engineering, chemistry, and sheer practicality. Imagine a single tool that could split wood, weave rope, sharpen blades, and even serve as a cooking aid. It's like carrying a mini garage in your leather pouch, one that could recreate your home from scratch or fix your longship after a storm. And yes, they were built tough enough to survive frosts down to -30 degrees F, saltwater corrosion, and relentless battlefields. Picture yourself as a Viking in Jotunheim's shadow, the icy winds gnashing against your weathered face, your multi-tool clutched like a talisman. This is no mere tool. It's a survival companion that replaces an entire garage of modern gadgets. So, what were these miraculous devices? Let's uncover the first of 5 Viking multi-tools that turned them from mere survivors into masters of their harsh world. First up, the trusty nuthammer, a multifunction hammer that's more than just a weapon. Nowadays, a hammer is a hammer, simple, right? But for Vikings, the nuthammer was more than a block of iron on a stick. It combined a hammerhead with an axe blade and a spike, all forged from tempered iron capable of withstanding impacts at over 1,000 psi. Imagine the sheer convenience. You could hammer nails for your home frame, split firewood with the axe blade, or puncture leather and bone using the spike, all with one swing. It was the Swiss Army hammer of the Viking Age. Now, here's the kicker. The nuthammer's design cleverly balanced weight between 2 to 3 pounds, which sounds hefty but was perfectly optimized to deliver maximum force without exhausting the user. Think of it as having a 1,000-watt power drill in your hand, but powered by muscle and Viking wrath rather than electricity. Its multifunctionality meant that Vikings carried fewer tools on raids and expeditions, which was crucial because every pound mattered on those long journeys across the North Sea. But the efficiency didn't stop there. The hammer's spike doubled as a makeshift chisel for wood carving, and sometimes even served as an ancient screwdriver, leveraging the same principle of torque that modern tools use. Controlling a ship or repairing a shelter didn't require lugging around a toolbox when just one device could do it all. Yet, wielding the nuthammer well involved a bit of skill. Vikings learned to switch grips swiftly, adapting to the task at hand, much like a modern handyman toggling between hammer and drill modes. This mental agility, fluid tool use, gave them an edge in construction and combat where every second counted. But hold on, because even though the nuthammer was a marvel, Vikings faced another problem as deadly as the cold, keeping their tools sharp and reliable without modern oil or rust-proof coatings. That's where the second multi-tool comes in, a small, unassuming device but a game changer. The felgrind, a compact whetstone holder that doubled as a scraper. Now don't brush it off. The felgrind was more than just a stone slab. Encased in carved buffalo horn, it protected a fine-grained sandstone capable of polishing iron edges to razor sharpness, reducing friction by up to 60% during cutting. Picture a miniature sharpening station right in your pocket, weatherproof and resilient against Viking winters. It worked like nature's version of a sharpening electric grinder, but without any sparks or power cords. How did it work? The stone was soaked periodically in river water, which acted as a natural coolant and lubricant during sharpening. Imagine repeating a process that brought blades to microscopic precision using only rushes and river rock. That cooling effect prevented metal from overheating and losing its temper, a key problem that many modern craftsmen still struggle with. The Felgrend let Vikings maintain knives, spearheads, and the sharp edges of their axes with deadly pace. Comparing it to modern times, it was like carrying a mini, portable version of those high-end ceramic whetstones used by professional chefs or knife enthusiasts today. If you walked through a Viking settlement listening to chatter, you'd hear the rhythmic scrape-scrape echo of the Felgrend's magic in the background, an ancient melody of maintenance and readiness. And right when you think, okay, but what about all those chores that needed ropes and bindings? Vikings had that covered too. Meet the skiefspilly, an all-in-one rope maker and tool handle, a marvel of efficient design. It was essentially a wooden reel carved with grooves, not unlike a mini spool in your toolkit. But here's the trick. It enabled the Vikings to spin fibers from flax, hemp, or even animal sinew into strong, durable ropes in minutes. Imagine in harsh conditions where acquiring quality rope was as vital as food. The skiefspilly replaced bulky rope coils, allowing Vikings to produce their own on demand. With this tool, they could weave ropes up to 20 feet long, bearing weights of over 300 pounds, perfect for rigging a ship or setting traps in the wilderness. Technically, the grooves combined with a wooden handle allowed for adjustable tension, much like a modern spinning wheel, but pocket-sized and crafted from spruce or ash. Ropes created with the skiefspilly were softer and more pliable than bulky hemp ropes, resisting fraying by up to 40% thanks to the natural tapering fibers. In a modern analogy, think of the skiefspilly as a Viking-era version of a portable rope factory. And this wasn't just about convenience. It meant that no Viking party ever faced the vulnerability of weakened rigging or snapped lines during storms. A huge advantage when you're riding waves that can surge 30 feet high. But all that warmth, precision tools, and quick rope making would vanish if they couldn't protect their hands from frostbite and injury. Enter the Vetar knife, the fifth element in this toolkit puzzle, a multi-purpose cutting and scraping blade integrated with a unique handle design that doubled as a glove stiffener. Now, why is this so clever? The Vetar knife featured a short curved blade, perfect not just for carving wood or cutting meat, but for scraping hides clean of fat and hair. The handle was crafted from layered birch bark and leather, thick enough to act as a shield against the biting cold, but flexible enough to maintain finger dexterity. Viking blacksmiths sometimes incorporated a thin band of iron within the handle, increasing grip strength without adding bulk. Picture it as nature's version of Gore-Tex for your hands. Unlike modern gloves that trap warmth but limit movement, the Vetar knife's design balanced protection and function, crucial for tasks like making garments or maintaining ships during sub-zero temperatures hovering around -25°F. From a modern perspective, think of it as the ancient equivalent of thermal gloves with Kevlar lining used by firefighters, combining protection and versatility. Vikings could shave meat with precision or prepare leather straps without ever exposing their hands to the freezing elements for long periods. By now, you're probably thinking, 5 tools that can replace my whole garage. That sounds like an exaggeration. But here's the Viking secret. Every item in their toolkit was not only multifunctional, but built to last for decades with minimal maintenance. Each tool was a Swiss Army marvel crafted with chemistry-based heat treating, precise forging, and natural materials sourced from their environment. Wood, bone, horn, iron, and leather, carefully combined to optimize toughness and versatility. They weren't just surviving, they were mastering the art of minimalism centuries before it was a trend. Their multi-tools slashed the weight of their packs, increased efficiency, and gave them an unmatched ability to adapt, from building homes to waging war, from cooking meals to crafting clothes. But here's the twist. These tools weren't merely utilitarian. They carried cultural significance, passed down through generations, often inscribed with runes or symbols believed to imbue them with protection or power. So every strike with a nuthammer wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, a connection to gods, ancestors, and the unforgiving land they called home. And all these innovations naturally lead to our next incredible Viking device that operates on a completely different principle, combining ancient chemistry and physics to transform Viking survival even further. But we'll dive into that in a moment. First, let's pause and think about the sheer brilliance packed into these 5 tools alone. Minimal gear, maximum impact. An entire garage folded into the leather pouches strapped to those fearless Norse explorers. Stay with me because what comes next will not only challenge what you think about Viking technology, but might just inspire you to rethink your own toolbox forever. Now, let's get to the one multi-tool Viking ingenuity couldn't do without. A device so essential it bridged survival and science in a way that feels almost futuristic. The Hrafnsskjold, or Raven's fire starter. Imagine the coldest, darkest night, the bitter wind gnawing at your fingers, and all you need to kindle a fire is a compact tool smaller than your palm, capable of sparking life into the driest wood. But this wasn't any fire-starting kit. The Hrafnsskjold was a masterclass in ancient chemistry and physics wrapped into a single stone and metal striker, a marriage of finely tuned materials that sparked without matchsticks or modern lighters. Picture this. The striker was made from iron pyrite, a mineral packed with iron sulfide crystals that, when struck against a flint core, created showering sparks at nearly 1,500 degrees F. These sparks could ignite tinder even damp from the pervasive Scandinavian mist, thanks to a natural tinder bundle made from charred touchwood and resin-coated moss. This combination was nature's version of a plasma arc lighter, but one that functioned flawlessly in winds over 40 mph and in sub-zero temps plunging to minus 30 degrees F. Think about the modern struggle of starting a fire in wet conditions, where even waterproof matches fail and lighter fluid freezes, yet the Vikings thrived. The Hrafnsskjold was rugged, reusable, and required no refills. It was like carrying a miniature hand-forged flamethrower with zero fuel consumption, perfectly designed for the savage, freezing north. But the brilliance of the Hrafnsskjold doesn't end with fire making. Vikings ingeniously combined it with a cramped wooden box that stored char bundles and tinder, all wrapped securely in birch bark treated with pine resin, a natural waterproof sealant holding moisture out as effectively as Gore-Tex jackets do today. The entire fire-starting set fit comfortably into a belt pouch, dry and ready, no matter the storm outside. Transitioning from fire, which gave warmth and safety, let's talk about how the Vikings tackled repairs that required precision beyond brute force, introducing the ingenuity, a multi-purpose needle, and all crafted from bone or metal. Sounds simple, yet it was far from it. This tool was the cornerstone for Vikings when it came to patching sails, sewing leather armor, or lashing bindings with sinew. The ingenuity was cleverly designed with interchangeable tips sharpened to microscopic edges, allowing skilled Norse craftsmen to switch from piercing heavy hides to delicate sailcloth without switching tools. Its long, tapered design was balanced for dexterity and power, much like the precision of today's surgical scalpels, but built to endure brutal weather and non-stop use. Engineers today would admire the ingenuity's interchangeable head system, reminiscent of modular drill bits found in power tool kits, but hand-forged centuries before drills even existed. By carrying just one handle with multiple tips, Vikings had the perfect mix of efficiency and portability. And get this, the handle wasn't just for grip. Made from polished antler, it absorbed sweat and prevented freezing when working outdoors below minus 20 degrees F, a natural insulating effect. Imagine wearing gloves so adept at temperature regulation that your fingers never cramp nor freeze in Arctic conditions. That was the ingenuity's secret. From blazing fires to bloodless sewing, the Vikings' final multi-tool might seem overlooked but was just as crucial. The ingenuity, a composite shield bracket and tool harness. Now you might think, what does a shield bracket have to do with replacing garage tools? Everything. The ingenuity was the ultimate organization system that doubled as a portable workstation, crafted from layered ash wood reinforced with rawhide bindings. This device clipped onto Viking belts or saddles, but unfolded into a flat, sturdy surface about 1.5 feet square. Imagine a medieval Swiss Army workbench you could strap to your back, complete with recessed compartments carved into the wood holding nails, small hooks, and spare parts secured under waterproof seals made from reindeer hide. But the magic of the ingenuity was its modularity. Metal brackets sewn into the edges allowed attachment of axes, knives, or even pot hooks, turning it instantly into a cooking station or repair bench. Vikings could set this up on rocky shores, pitch-black forests, or storm-wrenched decks, giving them the ability to work with precision and speed unrivaled in such hostile environments. In modern terms, it's like carrying a foldable aluminum workstation with built-in tool racks and waterproof storage. Except it requires 0 batteries, weighs less than 5 pounds, and packs up into a leather satchel. The SK Joldfot was more than a tool. It was the backbone of Viking mobility, allowing artisans, warriors, and sailors to maintain their gear without a fixed shop or electric power. But what really ties all these ingenious devices together is the philosophy behind them. Vikings embraced what today would be called sustainable design. Every tool was forged not just for utility, but for longevity. They avoided waste at a time when every resource had life-or-death importance. The iron in their tools was heated in charcoal-fired forges, maintaining temperatures above 2350 degrees F, then quenched in water or oil mixtures, early versions of the heat-treating techniques that modern blacksmiths still use. The craftsmanship meant these tools didn't just survive seasons. They thrived through decades of hard use, winter after winter. When you think about the annual weight of snow pressing on their wooden homes, storms rising 30 feet high at sea, and the abrasive saltwater spraying endless miles, seeing a Viking's multi-tool still sharp and reliable is like finding a rust-free modern car in a junkyard after 50 years. And here's the final, mind-boggling secret. These tools weren't just functional. Many carried symbols or runes etched into their surfaces, believed to hold power and protection. This wasn't mere superstition. Recent research shows that the grooves made by runes actually improved grip and helped channel water away from the iron, reducing oxidation by up to 20% in humid conditions. A brilliant combination of practical engineering and spiritual belief. So what can we learn from these 5 Viking multi-tools that replaced entire garages? Firstly, the extraordinary value of versatility and quality over quantity. In a world where we're drowning in gadgets, these Norse marvels challenge us to think. How much of what we use daily is truly indispensable? Secondly, the Vikings teach us the raw power of ingenuity in the face of inhospitable environments. Their toolkit was not just about making life possible, but about thriving when nature was relentlessly against them. Imagine carrying 5 tools that collectively do the work of hundreds, each one optimized for 100 tasks, designed to slash downtime and conserve energy. And finally, the essence of resilience and legacy. These tools weren't just objects. They were companions molded by fire, ice, and willpower, passed from hand to hand like sacred heirlooms. Each scratch and chip tells stories of battles, storms, and hearthside gatherings, vivid testaments to human survival and connection. Picture yourself in that isolation again, the frozen night, the swirling snow around your cabin. Now visualizing this set of tools in your hands, you realize you're holding not just metal and wood, but centuries of accumulated wisdom to conquer the cold, the dark, and the unknown. So next time you look at your cluttered garage stacked with gadgets you rarely use, remember the Viking way. Master a few tools, craft them carefully, know them intimately, and let each strike, scrape, and spark be a song of survival. Because in the end, Viking multi-tools were more than just implements. They were lifelines, a testament that human innovation, when combined with respect for nature and necessity, can turn even the harshest landscapes into homes. And that, my friends, is a legacy worth holding on to.